Welcome. Oh, sorry, I just got a recording in my ear. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. My name is Ron Epstein. I'm the Executive Deputy Commissioner with the New York State Department of Transportation. I also serve as Secretary of the Council. Today's meeting is being held virtually as a webinar pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order 202.91. And it is part of the emergency COVID response so that we can continue to conduct essential business while ensuring the safety of our members and the public. It is important to understand that the audio lines, the telephone lines will remain muted through the meeting. The chat pot is being monitored by NYMTC staff and representatives, and any comments that are relevant to the transportation and planning process will be reviewed and included in the meeting synopsis. During the public participation item on today's agenda, registered speakers will be unmuted individually. We will call on you. This web meeting is being recorded, and a copy will be posted on the NYMTC website within 2 weeks of this meeting. At this time, I will commence the roll call, and I will begin by announcing each of the agencies, the principals or their representatives, and asking them to confirm their participation. So right now, let me take the roll call. Commissioner Dominguez, New York State DOT.
Good morning.
County Executive Day.
Here.
County Executive Balone.
I'm here, thank you.
County Executive Curran.
Good morning, here.
Morning. I'm sorry, Westchester County. Joe McDonald.
Naomi Klein representing County Executive Latimer.
Thank you. Putnam County.
Sandra Fiscal representing Putnam County Executive Mary Ellen Odell.
Thank you. Commissioner Gutman.
I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you. Marissa Lago, New York City
Hello.
Planning.
Hello.
Michael Schiffer, MTA.
I'm here.
Ron,
Jana Lieber is here.
Jana Lieber representing MTA.
Oh, hey, Jana, how are you?
Hi.
Mary from NJTPA.
Yes, here. Good morning, everyone.
Jeremy from NJT.
Good morning, everyone. Jeremy Colangelo, Chief Planner, New Jersey Transit, representing President Corbett.
Thank you. Port Authority of New York, New Jersey.
Good morning, Mary Kay Murphy, Director of Planning and Regional Development for the Port Authority.
Good morning. Steve Goodman, FTA.
This is Mike Collada, Deputy Regional Administrator for FTA, representing Steve Goodman.
Thank you. Rick Marquis, Federal Highway Administration.
Good morning. I'm here.
Thank you. Good morning. Richard from EPA.
Good morning, Richard Ruvo on behalf of Acting Regional Administrator Walter Mugden.
Thank you. And Michael Sheen from DEC, New York State DEC.
Good morning, Mike Sheen representing Commissioner Sagos, New York State DEC.
So by my count, under our operating procedures, we do have a quorum. And Commissioner Dominguez, I turn the meeting over to you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. All right. I want to make sure that, all right, we've got everybody online. I had a little technical glitch in the beginning, so I'm going to start here. I just want to say, first and foremost, it's a pleasure to be with you all. Pleasure to be with NYMTC this morning. I realize we're in a virtual format, but it's obviously the safest way for us to interact. I want to say a sincere thank you to our co-chair, my co-chair, Rockland County Executive Ed Day. He has done an outstanding job, and I want to thank him. And also thank him for all of his work, certainly under these trying year that we've had, but also take the opportunity to welcome our incoming co-chair, Suffolk County Executive Steve Balone. So my thanks to both of you. COVID-19 has certainly been something that none of us have experienced in this generation. I'm going to ask those who, if you can, please mute your mics unless you're speaking. as I was saying, COVID-19 has truly impacted all of us individually, most specifically, not only in our personal lives, but our professional lives. It has presented numerous challenges. But it's also impacted our colleagues who work in transportation, those folks that truly manage our facilities, assist the public, and really do the work each and every day. I think more than anything, what COVID has really emphasized and underscored is the essential nature and the essential public service that transportation workers provide. So while dedicating themselves to their duties, the pandemic has also taken an incredible toll on our frontline workers and their families. And I think we would be remiss, but more importantly, I think it's very important that we begin our day today at this NYMTC meeting acknowledging the significant contributions as well as the courage and the determination that our transportation workers provide in providing an essential service each and every day to the public. We want to honor their sacrifices, certainly not only those that have become sick, but also those that have succumbed to this virus. So I would ask all of you to join me in a moment of silence to honor the selflessness of our colleagues, their sacrifice, and their dedication. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you all very much. During my tenure as commissioner of the New York State DOT, I've certainly seen firsthand the professionalism and the dedication and really the agility and flexibility of New York State's transportation workers, not only at our agency, but really across the state for everybody who is represented here in our NYMTC family. As I've said before, I often call our DOT family a one DOT, and really NYMTC is a huge and important part of that one DOT philosophy. The truth of the matter is that COVID-19 has fundamentally changed our lives in ways that I don't think many of us could have anticipated a year ago. And what has really been truly incredible is the level of response. I think the governor, the entire state, everybody recognized early on that transportation is indeed essential, that the ability of our transportation construction, maintenance, and operations had to be first and foremost to ensure ability, mobility, capability, movement of goods, movement of people across the state to make sure that we kept our economy going during this terribly challenging time. So when New York went on pause, we continued to do the vital work of the people. That is all of us that are involved in transportation. We obviously put in a whole new regime of safety precautions to do that, including cleaning procedures for both our transportation workforce and the public. And at New York State DOT, each and every member of our team I think has really done an exemplary job throughout the entire crisis here. Not only have we delivered on a record level infrastructure program and enhanced the safety of our traveling public over the last year, we also really turned on a dime here and pivoted to make sure that we were part of the larger statewide response to COVID-19. And I want to just give you a sense of some of the work that the New York State DOT has taken on, this in addition to normal duties that our state workforce has undertaken. For basically the last year, since March of 2020, DOT has led the statewide emergency support function for transportation and logistics under the state's comprehensive emergency management plan. And what that has meant is that we coordinated with all the state agencies, counties, and localities to really make sure that we're providing, whether that's equipment, PPE, et cetera. We've helped coordinate that on a statewide basis. We've also helped stand up field hospitals. We've also stood up testing sites and are running them, vaccine sites and helping run those. We've distributed more than 2.5 million test kits to nearly 1,200 healthcare facilities. We've delivered 50,000 plus critical testing specimens to the laboratories across the state. And we fielded more than 400,000 calls into the state's dedicated pandemic response centers, whether that's at the Department of Health or also helping our colleagues at the Department of Labor. These are the type of selfless actions that DOT employees have undertaken, and I know it is just a reflection of the countless efforts that New Yorkers writ large have undertaken in support of one another across every region of this state. So I also want to highlight a couple of the work pieces of some of the projects that we've done. So while we're responding to COVID, all of our work has continued. Right before COVID occurred, we completed the Sheridan Expressway, which is about a $75 million project, really looking at taking an interstate highway and turning that into a pedestrian-friendly boulevard, reconnecting the community there to the waterfront. And it couldn't have come at a better time to make sure that people have access to the waterfront. In addition, we have advanced some projects. We were able to complete the $1.7 billion reconstruction of the Bruckner-Sheridan interchange. Excuse me, we didn't complete it. We've started. We commenced the construction of the Hunts Point project at the Bruckner-Sheridan interchange, and really looking forward to the benefits of all of that, especially the benefits associated with emissions and really reducing that and improving truck traffic and efficiency in and around Hunts Point. We are also continuing our work, expanding capacity and improving reliability along the Van Wyck Express corridor from the Kew Gardens interchange to JFK, and that work is continuing. We're also looking at making sure that our larger, that is part of a larger plan that we're working for the historic $13 billion plan to transform JFK International Airport into truly a global gateway. And on Long Island, DOT recently completed the $130 million design build project to reconstruct the section of the Nassau Expressway between Rockaway Turnpike and Burnside Avenue in the town of Hempstead. That really looked at raising the roadway approximately 4 feet to really make sure that it's more resilient. Obviously, we've had an extreme amount of flooding, certainly during some extreme weather events that the state's seen. And this type of resilience is really reflective of what the department's looking at doing and is doing writ large in terms of building back better. We also had this year, we were able to complete construction on the Pudding Street Bridge over the Taconic State Parkway in Putnam County, about a $28 million project enhancing safety there. Those are just a few of the examples of some of the projects that DOT has been able to advance over the last year. But I think one of the lessons that COVID has really taught us is that climate is a differentiator, and it really has shown the disparities both on the equity front, but also on our infrastructure front. And as the governor and the legislature have put forward, New York State really is driving the most aggressive environmental laws in this country under the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. DOT, under that climate rubric, has always taken a leadership role in a lot of different ways. But right now, just to give you a sense of some of the things that we're doing right now, we've got a number of initiatives and mitigation measures underway to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, both on the resiliency front in terms of our infrastructure, but also some very specific ways, from an approach, whether that's increasing the use of warm mix asphalt or looking at prioritizing our scour critical bridges over water for replacement and rehabilitation. These are just some of the ways that we're incorporating better engineering, better resiliency into our standards. We're also providing nation-leading operating and capital support for municipally sponsored public transportation services, such as Westchester County's B Line and Suffolk County Transit. In addition, DOT is playing a critical part in the Governor's Climate Action Council, which is really charged with implementing the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And the council in particular is responsible for developing recommendations for mitigating the harmful impacts of greenhouse gas across all sectors of our economy. Obviously, our focus is on transportation, and what we're really looking at doing is transitioning to zero emission energy and infrastructure that will not only create jobs, but continue to foster a larger green economy, utilizing more renewable energy as New York really does continue to build back better and recover from this COVID-19 pandemic. One of the things that I have the privilege of doing is chairing the Transportation Advisory Panel under the Climate Action Council, and we are really looking at different ways of actually achieving these ambitious goals under the Climate Act, and looking how we actually help mitigate both on the infrastructure side and in our vehicle side a number of things that we can do to make sure that our future is indeed bright and able to handle the climate challenges that we have. So moving forward, not only is DOT committed to renewing and modernizing our infrastructure, we're really committed to doing that in a big and bold way. The governor put forward about a $306 billion initiative. He's really built on top of his continuous investment on infrastructure projects, looking to create jobs and really driving our economy forward. These really are generational investments, and they're across the board. It goes to the green energy sector, really looking at how we develop renewable projects, but it goes to transit, it goes to roads and bridges. There's a diversity of those actions across our entire economy, and it continues an unprecedented level of investment that's really occurred writ large over the state. For DOT, it's a 2-year capital plan that we're undertaking right now, which is about an $11.9 billion investment to renew and modernize our state infrastructure, and that really builds off of, it's really a 33% increase over the final 2 years of our last capital plan. So this record level of investment really does provide us with the resources to achieve our goals, to modernize our infrastructure, while also driving economic development in local communities and making sure that we've got an ability to truly build back better as we move forward. Looking forward, I think we really need to look at how we continue to work, not just in partnership, but also in a transformative way with our federal partners, and certainly with this new administration in Washington, to ensure that the resources are there to avoid any service impacts and make sure that we remain competitive here in New York. So the COVID relief bill that Congress is currently considering is critical to meeting the goals established by the executive budget this year. At this point in time, the bill includes about a $23.3 billion state and local stabilization funding for the state of New York, and it's got about $6.5 billion in funding for our state's public transportation systems, as well as airports and passenger rail service, which is critical. And we need to make sure that indeed does go forward. That level of stabilization will go a long way, and then we'll look to additional opportunities with surface transportation reauthorization as well. So in conclusion, I want to recognize that the infrastructure investments that are being made really are critical to driving our economy in New York moving forward. I think that the executive budget really recognizes that this is truly the way to invest, renew, and build back better through these transformational, generational projects that we've got in every region of the country. We do that in partnership with the federal government. We've done it in the past. We'll do it again. And more importantly, we do that in partnership with NYMTC and with all of you at the table, and really collaborating and making sure that not only do we come out of this health crisis, but we truly do advance our state and our economy and for the benefit of everybody. That really is truly embodying the notion of one DOT as we serve all the needs of New Yorkers across the state. So thank you all very much. I greatly appreciate your time and the ability to take some time to talk to you all this morning. So with that, I would like to acknowledge, I just want to make sure I'm headed in the right direction, but I wanted to acknowledge County Executive Day.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And again, not to be too repetitive, I do want to publicly echo and reinforce your sentiment regarding the sacrifice of our frontline workers, our own heroes, who, as I said earlier, labored in anonymity, and they kept us going during the bleakest of times, and we should be very, very proud of them, and I thank you for acknowledging them. As I mentioned earlier to my colleagues this morning, while I believe that we have the distinction of being the first NYMTC co-chair to serve during a pandemic, and that's a dubious distinction, and I sincerely hope such distinctions quickly become a thing of the past. I've been honored to serve as co-chair for this council, and I look forward to the continued collaboration with my distinguished colleagues to help get our region back on track, no pun intended. No doubt there is a lot of work ahead, and we begin to move forward again, but I am really confident that our member agencies will use our collective experience, expertise, and the resources to do this in a way that can serve as an example to others, especially during these trying times. Over the past year, every one of us had to shift priorities and reinvent how we do things. We basically had to regroup, adapt, change, and overcome. As we continue to stabilize and look ahead, we may see that our goal to improve the region's transportation network from a different perspective in this new world. There is no doubt that each of our agencies are looking closely on how COVID has already changed the way we operate and how it may continue to do so in the long term. But many of our goals remain unchanged. From my point of view, increasing transit access continues to be a vital goal, along with increased transit service in underserved communities. In our current climate, restoring service must also be a top priority. Our communities and our economies depend on it. And as businesses and venues reopen in the city and in the region, our workers and residents need ways to get there, especially from places like Rockland County that already has had limited transit options to the region's core. Our mandate to encourage members to create more and better alternatives to driving has been challenged by this pandemic, but must also remain a priority along with keeping our roads and bridges safe. The transportation challenges we face, especially the ridership decline that we are seeing, the correlated loss of funding, and continuing to keep travelers as safe as possible, certainly gives us pause. As this council works to usher through the relief funding again on its way to our region, however, I am confident that this body will do its work in the most efficient, equitable, and professional manner possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, County Executive Day. I greatly appreciate your comments. I think now we're going to go into the council members roundtable and really have a little bit more of a discussion on how the pandemic has impacted transportation. If you all can give us a sense of, the current conditions, what your short-term outlook looks like, what are some of the financial issues, perhaps, that are related to any impact on transportation in your area, and maybe even give us a sense of, a look ahead. I think I gave you some things that the New York State DOT is certainly looking at, but what do you really anticipate over the next 12 to 18 months in your respective jurisdictions? So, does anybody want to start us off here?
Commissioner, it's Hank Gutman.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. I first want to say that I am delighted to be in such distinguished company, and I look forward to working with all of you and it's particularly nice to be joining up in this with some old friends from other contexts. So, speaking in terms of New York City, obviously the impact of the pandemic has been profound and tragic on the city as throughout the country. And echoing something that you said earlier, Commissioner, I would like to commend our city DOT under the leadership of the legendary Polly Trottenberg, soon I hope to be Deputy Secretary Trottenberg, and Margaret Forgione, our first Deputy Commissioner. The DOT at the city level, as at the state level, rose to the challenge, and I believe they're members of the management team that are helping administer vaccinations today as we speak. Just a couple of words on some of the priorities that the mayor's established for us for the coming year. First, Vision Zero. Again, Commissioner Trottenberg initiated this program, terrific success, but zero means zero, and we're not there yet. And the city has experienced, as I understand, many others across the country have experienced an increase in speeding, reckless driving, reckless behavior, and the accompanying fatalities and crashes during the pandemic. So obviously, we are focusing hard on addressing those issues and making sure that we proceed toward the goal of zero. In the tragedy of the pandemic, we've also discovered some opportunities to reimagine how we use our streets. There's been a huge increase in bicycle ridership. So we're working hard to make that easier, safer, more convenient for those who are moving around by bikes. Buses, we're working hard to make bus service faster, more efficient. Mass transit in general, cooperating with the various partners on this call. The objective, obviously, is to try to reduce the dependence on private cars to the extent we can, and that's a major agenda item this year as in other years. We've also discovered, as a result of the pandemic, that there's a lot of interest in open streets. Open streets for recreation, for getting outdoors when you're otherwise confined indoors, particularly in areas that don't have easy access to parks, as well as open outdoor dining. It started as a pandemic response to help save our critically important restaurant industry, but people like it. And so why shouldn't New York be like Florence or Paris or any of the other major cities in the world where outdoor dining is a big part of the experience? So we are working to make all of those programs permanent. We too confront the problems that you addressed, Commissioner, and that I'm sure others will, the aging infrastructure. The BQE is one example that's attracted a lot of attention and will obviously be a focus of our efforts, but there are other such examples in the city, and those all need to be addressed. Freight is another issue. It's not just the increase in online deliveries based on changed shopping patterns on the part of the people in the city, but in the pandemic, deliveries have been essential in terms of getting groceries, getting prescriptions delivered, getting meals delivered, and so that has increased competition at the curb and made more complex the issue that we're already working hard on of how we share our streets. So that's another issue we're going to be spending a lot of time on. All of these things require money. All of these things require cooperation. All of these things will of necessity, and I view this as a welcome thing, cause us to be working closely with the other people on this call. The metrics by which we will be judging our success in all of these endeavors are public safety, protecting our environment, and providing for equity among the diverse and varied communities of our city. So again, I've only been on the job 2 weeks, but it's already clear to me that based on the overlapping jurisdictions in all of these areas, as well as the overlapping interests of everybody in NYMTC, I look forward to working with all of you going forward so that we can do what all of us want for our respective communities and the region. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Gutman. First and foremost, again, welcome, and very glad you could join us today, and appreciate your thoughtful comments here. Let me turn to some others. My colleagues, perhaps, maybe, I don't want to call on anybody. Does anybody want to volunteer? Otherwise, I will.
I'd be glad to follow up on Commissioner Gutman. This is Therese out the New York City picture. And first, Commissioner Dominguez, I have to thank you for the work that DOT has done on the Sheridan Boulevard. I was up there 2 weeks ago, and it is remarkable, the transformation. The parks on the Bronx River are now truly accessible to the residential community. And the work on the Bruckner Exchange. What I find so exciting about the first project, which is about open space and community, and then the second, which is about jobs, is that both of them are so rooted in environmental justice. So thank you for that. The role of city planning is to collect data, to do research, and provide analysis. And in this instance of the post-pandemic world, what changes will be temporary, what are permanent, and what have we learned? So at a preliminary level, we have to not just know that ridership is down, but we have to know who is still using the transportation. And what is significant is that even at its lowest point in April of 2020, more than 700,000 people were traveling by bus and subway each day, principally essential workers. And the parts of the city where essential workers lived were where we saw subway entries being closest to pre-pandemic levels. These neighborhoods also tended to have the lowest incomes, the highest poverty rates, and disproportionately populated by persons of color. So there clearly is an equity angle that we have to bring to our transportation work going forward. One big focus for us is obviously a return to 24-hour subway, because again, if we think about the fact that it's essential workers who are most heavily using it, the absence of overnight subway service means longer commutes or more expensive commutes. Also looking to the future, we know that the subway is essential for a 24-hour economy to bounce back. In particular, once our entertainment, our nightlife, our dining sectors fully reopen, we are going to want a subway system that can safely allow the patrons to take advantage of these amenities, which we just can't wait to. The next point I'd like to make is the research that we are doing on who left the city, where did they go, and when might they be returning. And this is a continuation of the work that we have been doing on regional planning for the past few years. And so I'm so pleased to see the county executives who are here on the call, and just want to assure that in doing this work, it is always going to be with an eye to identifying solutions to not just the cities, but to our region's housing needs, working hand in glove with our county executive partners. So thank you.
Marissa, thank you very much. Can you give us a sense of when the work that you're doing right now on the study that you just referenced on where people are, if they've actually permanently moved, where are they moving to?
Yeah, this is still a work in progress. I would ask Carolyn Grossman-Marr, who's on, if she wants to make a very brief intervention about the status of the work.
I'm just wondering, timing-wise, are you looking at like a year or like 6 months or like? because you all put out some very good data, so I'm just looking at when that might be available.
I don't know is the answer.
That's okay.
I apologize for that. But as usual, once we have it ready, you know that we publicize it, and love getting the feedback from state officials and from, again, our county, the county commissioners, our regional counterparts are just invaluable to us.
Great. All right. Well, Carolyn has offered that as soon as it's, the update is available, she will share it. So thank you very much. Thanks, Marissa. All right. Jana Lieber from MTA. Would you like to?
Good morning, Commissioner. I'm thrilled to be able to represent MTA in this setting. As you and I remember, Commissioner, I had the good fortune of serving at USDOT in the 90s in the Clinton administration when we were first implementing ICE-T and its vision of strong MPOs that led regional planning efforts. And obviously, so it's a treat to be part of this effort that we're all engaged in today. Folks asked as part of the planning for this meeting if we would quickly tick off some of the key impacts of the pandemic on our jurisdiction. Of course, the MTA represents on a national basis 40% of the riders nationally. It's not just obviously a regional transportation powerhouse, but nationally as well. And the pandemic, I think folks know this, devastated the MTA's ridership consistent with what was going on in the city. At the low point, the subways were at 10% of normal ridership, the buses were at 20%, and the commuter railroads were at roughly 5%. But we have rebounded to now providing on the subways and buses, 90+% of service. The commuter railroads are at 65 and 75% respectively, Metro North and Long Island Railroad. But we are a little bit stuck at ridership levels for the subways and buses in the 30s and 40s, respectively. And Long Island Railroad and Metro North are in the low 20% relative to prior conditions. I've ridden recently, and I am convinced that ridership is going up. It has not yet manifested on the numbers, and that may be partly attributable to the fact that we have honestly had an upsurge of fare evasion. But the ridership, I rode today, and I rode a couple full trains. But one of the good signs about our ability to grow ridership and usership back in the public transit system is the fact that we've documented that there's 95+%, closer to 97% mask wearing compliance. And people are starting to get comfortable, I believe, using masks to manage risk. And obviously we're in the vaccination era. And there is, combined with that, growing evidence that public transportation usage is not or does not have to be and has not been a source of major spread based on the data from Asia and otherwise. So I think people are starting to get comfortable. We obviously need mass transit in the New York City and the region to be part of our resurgence economically, because it is what makes our business model possible. We put 4 million people into the central business district every day so that they can create value and creativity. A lot of them in swivel chairs in office buildings, which have been empty for quite some time. So we need mass transit. The bridges and tunnels that we administer are already back at 90 to 95% of prior usage. So there isn't a lot of capacity there, and we need mass transit to be part of it. To Marissa, my friend Marissa Lago's comments, absolutely right that the ridership that continued on the mass transit systems through the pandemic, and God bless the essential workers who labored to keep us going, were younger, more diverse, and lower income, and they were much higher percentage, obviously, of essential workers. And as a result, there was a much flatter curve in the day. So that's one of the things we're seeing is less peak and more ridership in the off-peak areas. But interestingly, there was, even as difficult as times were, our surveys indicate a very high level of satisfaction with the conditions and the service on mass transit. We're obviously running very efficiently, and the cleaning that was undertaken overnight at the governor's instigation has been very successful in getting people comfortable about using mass transit. That's what we're hearing from our riders. So obviously, although we have narrowed the window of overnight closures to 2 hours from the prior 4, there is a sign that cleaning is and creating a good station environment and so on is part of the success. Economic impacts. It's no secret. The MTA was losing for the first 6 months of COVID $200 million a week because of the collapse of ridership. We are more fare box dependent than virtually every other transit system nationwide. And as a result, we were able to balance our budget only because of the federal interventions. First, the CARES Act, then the CRIS Act, which we're drawing down, and the use of the municipal lending facility from the Federal Reserve. Even so, we still have an $8 billion deficit through 2024, and that means that we are desperately counting on the COVID relief bill that the Biden administration has set in motion, the American Rescue Plan. The drama with the operating budget being what it was, the capital budget had to be cannibalized to keep the lights on and service going during this dire period, so that we in effect paused the 2024 capital program. New awards were very limited, new contract awards, although at the beginning of 2020, we had set off on the historic $50+ billion capital program that the governor had enacted through the legislature. So we had to pause all that, notwithstanding the fact that we only awarded about 45% of the contracts we'd anticipated, about $5.5 billion all told. We were able to have the highest level of completions of any year in MTA history. So that proves that we were able, yet thanks to the construction workers who were deemed essential and showed up every day and worked safely, because we had a very low level of spread, infection, and shutdown due to COVID in our construction projects. But we had all the work continue, hundreds of projects, and very few shut down. It was done safely. I credit our union partners and the contractors associations who are partners in getting all that out. We were able to complete major projects, 11 ADA stations, the highest level the MTA had ever done in 1 year before. We advanced the third track project on Long Island, which the county executives on this call have done so much to support and make happen, including this weekend when we're going to celebrate the final grade crossing closure. In 1982, the state of New York committed to eliminate 10 grade crossings along this section of the main line. In 37 years, 2 were done. Under Governor Cuomo's leadership, in 2 years, the remaining 8 grade crossings in that dangerous area where there have been some terrible, terrible crashes have been closed and replaced with new undergrade crossings in large part. And finally, at the end of the year, the governor opened Moynihan Station, a huge landmark, not just for our regional and East Coast transportation system, because it serves Amtrak as well, but as Senator Moynihan said, demonstrating that we could accomplish great projects once again. All these things, I think, both the subways and the buses and the regional commuter railroad and the bridges and tunnels, Moynihan working with Amtrak and NJT for a new Penn Station, I think signified that we have not lost the mojo for regional thinking and regional cooperation during COVID. We are thinking about how do we recover together. And I just want to finish by saying that, again, that the MTA workforce did an extraordinary job. It's no secret that we've lost 149 people to COVID. I think we honor their memory by using the mass transit system, investing in the mass transit system as a key linchpin in not just the survival through COVID, but our recovery from it, and that everybody on this call is doing so much to accomplish. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Jano. It really is quite an incredible, it's quite incredible the amount of work that has been able to be accomplished in light of the challenges that you all have certainly faced. So thank you for sharing that with us. County Executive Day, I know that you also wanted to help give us some perspective as well on the COVID response and its impact.
Yes, I'd like to contribute just a couple of minutes to the roundtable with Rockland's experience, both in current conditions and also what our outlook is as we go down the road. And as we've said already, a year ago this week, we convened a council in person. We had no idea what we were going to be facing in a few weeks, and we began to learn the work of combating COVID. Rockland County's focus, of course, like many others, was on the health and safety and ensuring that vital county services remained available to those who needed them, either just by the mere use of the transportation or also getting to locations they had to get to. In response to the pandemic, our public transportation department and our bus operator initiated and continue to sustain expanded cleaning and new sanitizing and boarding procedures for both the TRIPS Paris Transit Service and our local tour bus system. I'm very proud to say that Rockland County provided uninterrupted bus service, operating complete schedules on transport of Rockland for the entire year through the pandemic. This ensured that the public transit options remained available for essential workers and for residents who had essential travel needs. And I want to acknowledge our Rockland County Transportation Department, who did an amazing job in this area. We also continue to provide TRIPS paratransit service for our most vulnerable residents, many of whom had no choice but to continue traveling to dialysis and other vital medical appointments. So we're proud of the fact that we maintain that service to them. And we are quite grateful for the Section 5307 urbanized area funding we received from the FTA through the CARES Act. That funding, along with what we hope will come the new congressional relief package, will go a long way towards COVID-related expenses that were incurred and a new way of operating that our transit systems must now sustain. In short term, we look forward to the restoration of transit service that has been lost during the pandemic. For example, Rockland County residents have been without the Haverstraw-Ossining ferry service since last spring. These riders also subsequently lost replacement bus service to Tarrytown and then lost free parking at that station. That's unacceptable. That has to be reversed. We also lost a significant portion of commuter bus service to the city and the Pascack Valley Express trains that were temporarily eliminated 2 years prior to the pandemic and still have not been restored. That must change. It's a vital lifeline for our residents who commute down to the city. As the region reopens, reestablishing these services in the short term is vital to our communities and our economies, and it will become even more important with congestion pricing on the way. And again, the last item is that we need some balance here when it comes to public transportation, because we've done quite well in economic development in Rockland County, but it's very difficult to have transit-oriented development when we don't know if the trains will be there. That is a very difficult bridge to cross. So with that, I thank you for your time, and we'll move on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is, writ large, our reinvesting in our transit is, and making sure that we've got overall capability, I think is something that NYMTC is looking at overall. But thank you again, County Executive Day. I would like to take a minute and acknowledge, I know County Executive George Latimer is with us from Westchester County. I can't see you on the WebEx, but if you would like to unmute, we would welcome you. Sir, you're still on mute. George?
Hi.
There you go. There you go.
Very good. All right. Commissioner, thanks very much. I'll give you a quick update on Westchester, and we do have Naomi Klein with us here, who is our senior player in transportation and planning, and always a regular member of the NYMTC meeting. So we appreciate Naomi's professionalism to add to this. And let me bring greetings, by the way, from Joan McDonald, one of your predecessors, who is tied up with COVID vaccine-related issues, but she is our Director of Operations, number 3 in our team, after myself and the Deputy County Executive, and she wants to send her best wishes to you and to all of her friends here at NYMTC.
Thanks.
Very briefly, our Beeline bus system, which has the second largest ridership in the state after the New York city system, was impacted dramatically by COVID. We had a large drop in our ridership. Last summer, we suspended ridership fares from May until September. Even with the lower ridership, we had people that were in economic difficulties without unemployment or without jobs. So we suspended fares. And what we also did was retrofit our buses to protect the bus drivers by putting plastic shields and having, as you did in New York City, passengers enter through the rear entrance of the buses rather than through the front entrance, which created a greater contact between the bus drivers and the individuals in order to keep the routes running. We had completed that process. We established fares again by September, and we are, seeing the same, uptick that's happened since the society started to open, but we're still having, great difficulty. And obviously, our bus system is very tied to the New York City bus and subway and commuter rail systems. A number of our routes bring people to northern terminuses in the Bronx, a connection to the subway system, or to our 44 Metro North station. So all of that has been impacted. We have also made an effort through the county efforts to inoculate individuals to COVID to try to get through as many of the mass transit workers as we could. That was an eligible category through the state and through both our efforts with TWU, local bus drivers, as well as ACRE individuals, union members who are involved in MTA. We tried to get as many of them vaccinated so that they could perform their functions and stay on duty and go forward. It's not directly correlated to rail or road transit, but Westchester County Airport, which we operate, had a major drop-off in business. As you would imagine, our commercial flights dropped to near zero. We have a very active general aviation marketplace there. So we're still well under 75% of what the normal operations be. But as you can imagine, many of the corporations and individuals in Westchester, Fairfield, and elsewhere that use our airport, we are the 3rd busiest airport in the state after JFK and LaGuardia, but we've had a drop-off. And what it did allow us to do, we shut the airport down. We try to find, some silver lining of the dark cloud, and we were able to complete a major capital project to resurface our main runway. And we could do that because the business had dropped off so dramatically. We could do the capital project. It's a $20+ million project to get that done last spring. We still think, although we know things are very much up in the air with the MTA and Metro North, we still think that the West Side Access Project is very important to us. The plans that would add stations in the East Bronx, which is to the support of our friend Ruben Diaz in the Bronx, and accessing the eastern side of the New Haven line ultimately into Penn Station on the west side of Manhattan is an important project. We gather everything is going to be longer and more delayed because of the economic situation of the MTA and the nation at large. But we still want that project to be considered an important project that affects us in the suburbs. And the only other thing I would say is I think from our county's perspective, we see very clearly the interaction between New York City and Westchester County. We may be suburbanites, and many of us have obviously either lived in the city, worked in the city, went to college, grad school in the city, that the success of New York City is tied to us as is our own natural success. There's a lot of rhetoric out there that pit the suburbs against the city, and what people do in the city and where they may move to. We may be short-term beneficiaries of that, but at the end of the day, our county can't advance unless the city advances. And we feel the same way about our friends in Rockland County or Long Island. We are part of a region. The region needs to rise as a whole rather than sub-level competition between us. And so that's how we view what we're going through. We will get through this. My final comment is I want to thank my good friend Ed Day for his leadership. I called on him my first week in office. And I learned a little bit about things he had learned in Rockland that I was just starting to learn in Westchester. We didn't plan to be in a pandemic, so I guess we all learned that at the same time. But I want to thank Ed for his leadership, and I look forward to Steve Ballone's leadership, also a good friend, who will take over that responsibility.
All right. Thank you so much, County Executive Latimer. Greatly appreciate it. We have about 3 minutes. Is there anyone else that would like to share some thoughts with us this morning on some COVID-related experience?
Commissioner, I'll jump in. This is County Executive Balone.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you, Commissioner. Sorry, not in person, but certainly let me thank you for your leadership during the pandemic and your entire team. I bring greetings as well from our Commissioner, Joe Brown, somebody you're very familiar with as well. He's doing a terrific job.
Excellent.
I want to thank also Ed Day. I've got some big shoes to fill coming in behind the county executive, but I appreciate his leadership. I want to thank all of the county executives on here as well, George Latimer, Laura Curran, all of my colleagues. We've been communicating, talking to one another throughout the pandemic, this unprecedented event, working together to try to get through it. And to everybody on this call for all the great work that you have done during this past year. We are, like everybody else, facing impacts, but we are focused on the future. We are focused on, as what you've said, Commissioner, building back better. How do we take advantage in some ways of this crisis to put ourselves in a better, stronger position? So we're advancing a number of projects with the support of NYMTC, of course, our Regional Economic Development Plan, Connect Long Island. We understand that the key to sustainable economic growth here is connectivity. To George's point, we are an integrated region. We are dependent on one another, and that connectivity is critical. Part of that plan, Commissioner, we are working with your team on bus rapid transit on the Route 110 corridor on the border of Nassau and Suffolk County, the largest job center in the region, and running a bus rapid transit system that'll connect ultimately all 3 lines of the Long Island Railroad. We're implementing a microtransit pilot in Southampton. We're electrifying our bus fleet. We're moving forward with the implementation of our hike bike master plan, which really coincides with the work the state and the governor has done on the Empire Trail, which is really an incredibly important investment. So all of these things are critical, but I wanted to touch on a project that I think, as we talk about the possibilities coming out of this pandemic, that is critically important and maybe one of the greatest opportunities that I've seen since I've been in public life, and that is the possibility, the potential to do high-speed rail for the North Atlantic region, connecting the entire innovation ecosystem of this region together through a high-speed rail network connecting New York City all the way to Boston through Long Island. It's hard to conceive of anything that could be potentially more transformative and that could help power sustainable economic growth through the rest of this century than a project like that. And you know, it's hard to think about something like that, maybe even wrap your minds around something like that when we're still in the midst of a pandemic and struggling to get through it. But this is what we have always done in this country, thought big, even in times of crisis, and thought about the future. And it seems to me that, you know, the stars may just align for a project like this to happen with a president who not only has an incredible commitment to public transportation, particularly understanding trains. I think we all know his nickname very well. But somebody who's committed to addressing the climate crisis, which a project like this would do, and the need to invest in our economy and create jobs, which, of course, this project would do. And we have, of course, the leadership of this governor who has been literally the master builder for this state. You've got a visionary transit leader like Polly Trottenberg moving to the DOT. And of course, we have the majority leader of the United States Senate right here in New York. And the last thing I'll say is I think there is a real yearning with everything we've been through, in this country to once again demonstrate that we can do big things, that we can make something happen that is truly transformative, not just in the moment, not just in the near term, but for decades, for generations into the future. And I would like to see this council, as we do our work and move forward, to be thinking of that long term and to work to seize the opportunity that we may have here as we talk about historic infrastructure and transportation investments being made in this country in the coming year. So, Commissioner, thank you very much, and thank you again to all of my colleagues. I look forward to working with all of you this year.
Wonderful. Well, first and foremost, thank you for your thoughtful insights, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Look forward to co-chairing NYMTC with you over the course of this incoming year. All right. Are there any other participants here? Otherwise, I will turn this over to County Executive Day for the next portion of our agenda here.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. We're now going to move on to the public participation item that's on the agenda. We have set aside 15 minutes of the agenda to hear from participants who have registered to speak, and we do have 2 people. We will hear from these participants in the order they have registered to speak during the duration of the allotted time. We ask each registered speaker to limit their comments to the relevant transportation and planning related items and to less than 3 minutes so we can hear from as many speakers as possible in the allotted time. The first registered speaker is Murray Bowden. Could we please unmute Mr. Bowden's microphone and welcome him here?
Is my microphone unmuted?
Yeah.
I hear you just fine, Mr. Bowden. Thank you.
Thank you. Because of last month's technical difficulties, on Monday I wrote my comments to you so that you can understand my concerns. New York State DOT does not follow the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices with regard to the yellow left edge line markings. For driver safety, the left edge line through lane must be yellow. I have sent your department full documentation as to this issue. Commissioner, I request you direct your staff to immediately email all involved that every improper line be corrected as soon as possible, and that contractors be informed that any construction line moved or restriped shall be in accordance with the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices as currently written. This is not a new issue. Virtually half the people sitting on this meeting today have gotten numerous copies of the pictures and everything else. Will you commit to immediately inform your staff that they are required, in the interest of safety, comply with the manual as currently written and has been written since 2000? Could you commit yourself and your department to do this? Thank you. I'd like an answer.
I will certainly take a look at the materials that you've submitted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bowden. We have a second speaker, Joanna Altman Smith. Could you please unmute her mic so she can offer her thoughts? Ms. Smith, are you there?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. The floor is yours.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's such an honor to be able to address this distinguished panel of all of you wonderful professionals who spend every day trying to keep us safe and keep us on the move. I just wanted to take the opportunity to give a little report from the ground. I'm just a concerned citizen. I live in Brooklyn. I've been a safe streets advocate for many years. I serve on my local community board. We have made great strides on Vision Zero, but the fact is that too many people are still dying and being injured on our streets, and we are still producing far too much pollution from the ways we get around in New York. And I just thought I'd take the opportunity to throw a couple ideas out on the floor for you to think about, ways that we can enlarge our interagency cooperation to make sure that the public is as safe as possible and that we meet our new emissions goals, particularly under the CLCPA that we've passed in New York State. My first suggestion is just to really take a concentrated focus on the social cost of emissions when you're considering projects in your regions and municipalities. Just, when you're assessing what the cost-benefit analysis of any project is, we need to be taking into account the dire impact of fine particulate matter on public health, and this will obviously involve working with health departments. There's a recent study in Europe that's pointing to over 50,000 deaths a year from fine particulate matter. And I don't know if there's a comp in the U.S. at this point, but there needs to be, and that kind of thing should be taken into account. For instance, when we're looking at congestion pricing here in New York City, which it looks like is finally going to be moving forward, just keeping the focus on what that will do to decrease emissions will give it a lot more traction. Just what else can we do to adopt other low emission modes of transport, such as active transport, making it easier for people to walk and bike in our communities? There's a federal bill right now called the e-bike bill. Blumenauer and Panetta introduced it a couple weeks ago to give actual financial incentive for people to purchase e-bikes, and e-cargo bikes have such a great potential for last mile freight implications, making our streets safer by just reducing the overall size of vehicles on them. Encourage you guys to work with sanitation departments to make sure that sidewalks and bike lanes are always free of obstruction, particularly after snow events. We see in New York, especially with all the COVID vacancies, that our reliance on private snow clearance for sidewalks, corners.
Ms. Smith, could you close up your comments, please,
Sure.
if you wouldn't mind? Thank you.
So just work with sanitation to make sure people can get around safely. And just to point you all to Senator Markey's recent reintroduction of the Complete Streets Act at the federal level. If this could move forward, there'd be a lot more funding for the kinds of projects we want to see. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, and thank you for your service on the community board in Brooklyn, okay? Lastly, Andrew, are there any other additional registered speakers?
No, there are not.
Thank you, Andrea. So since we have no more speakers, I'm going to move this, go to Commissioner Dominguez and to move the next agenda item. Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to the next agenda item is literally our action items. So I will start first and foremost by accepting the meeting synopsis minutes from the February 27th, 2020 meeting. We will look, I hope everybody's had a chance to look at them. May I have a motion to accept the February 27, 2020 meeting synopsis minutes?
Motion by County Executive Day.
Thank you, County Executive Day. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion, County Executive Balone.
Thank you very much, County Executive Balone. We will now have a vote by roll call, starting with the Lower Hudson Valley. Putnam County?
Aye.
Rockland County?
Yes.
Westchester County?
Yes.
Long Island, Nassau County,
Aye.
Suffolk County.
Yes.
Moving to New York City Department of Transportation. Mr. Gutman, Commissioner Gutman.
I've unmuted. Aye.
All right, New York City Planning, Department of Planning, City Planning.
Yes. Yes.
All right, and finally the MTA.
Yes.
All right, and then an aye from the New York State Department of Transportation. All right, with that, the motion passes. Moving on to our next action item, resolution number 2021-1, looking at the adoption of the state fiscal year 2021-2022 Unified Planning Work Program. I will ask Setu Allen of NYMTC staff to introduce the resolution for adoption. And afterwards, we'll look to a vote. Setu?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Council members. So I'd like to just do a brief overview of the upcoming work program for the 2021-2022 state fiscal year. If you could advance the slide, show 2 slides, please. One more, please. So first off, what is the Unified Planning Work Program? The UPWP, it is NYMTC's annual budget, which describes how federal transportation planning funds will be used for transportation planning activities in the region, and it also defines the planning priorities for the NYMTC planning area. Next, please. Now, the shared goals that guide the UPWP, these goals are 8 shared goals that come from Plan 2045, which have guided the development of this, and also, of course, the need to comply with the various federal regulations of the MPO that govern the MPO. Next slide, please. So the proposed funding for the 2021-2022 UPWP, it's about a $43 million program, which includes funding from our federal partners at Federal Transit, Federal Highway, and also new local match contribution from the various member agencies. Next slide, please. Now, NYMTC passes through fundings to its member agencies for planning activities that are undertaken by those agencies. So for the upcoming program year, roughly 55% of the program funding will support NYMTC staff, and the remaining funding will be passed through to NYMTC member agencies. Next, please. So NYMTC's work program can be thought of as having 2 parts. The first is a core program, and these are the UPWP-funded planning activities that support the development of federally required products and analyses within the context of national performance goals and NYMTC strategic framework. Next. So this is just a sample of this is the core planning process that NYMTC follows. So just focus on some of the key accomplishments that will occur during the upcoming program year. I think the most important one will be the adoption of NYMTC's next regional transportation plan, Plan 2050, moving forward, which will be adopted in September of 2021, in addition to its specialized elements like the freight plan or the pedestrian bike plan and the accompanying congestion management process status report. In addition to that, there will be a conformity determination which will be adopted in August of 2021, and thereafter, work will begin on the next transportation improvement program likely towards the end of this calendar year. And roughly a year from today, the NYMTC Council will adopt another Unified Planning Work Program. Next, please. So in addition to the core program, there's also a discretionary program in the UPWP. These are planning priorities that are outlined in Plan 2045 and help NYMTC member agencies address issues related to planning activities that are identified in the plan, financing strategies, congestion, transportation system performance, emerging trends, and community enhancement studies. Next, please. So there are about 40 special studies in NYMTC's program for the upcoming program year. Some are new proposals, some are multi-year studies. Just going to cover a few of the themes that emerge from this year's program. First, and probably quite importantly, is a series of studies to try to understand the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the transportation system. In addition, there are various data analysis tasks, which will look at both how to use new data or more familiar data to really understand travel trends and mobility throughout the planning area. A series of community workshops are also planned for the program year. And next slide, please. There are also various sub-area studies, such as a shared use path feasibility study in the Palisades, a multi-use trail planning study in Long Beach, Nassau County, as well as a rail link feasibility study, a rail link connecting Southeast New York to Danbury, Connecticut. And finally, NYMTC will be continuing its academic program, the September 11th Memorial Program for Regional Transportation Planning. This, most importantly, honors the 3 NYMTC staff members who died on the attacks on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001, but also provides really qualified students an opportunity to do really incredible planning work, either with NYMTC staff or at its member agencies. Next, please. So like I said, that was just a very brief overview of the upcoming work program. Obviously, much thanks to the entirety of NYMTC staff. The work program reflects their collective knowledge and their work efforts, as well as the contributions of the staff at the NYMTC member agencies who contributed greatly to the development of this program. And at this time, NYMTC staff would like to request that the NYMTC Council adopt the 2021-2022 UPWP.
Thank you very much, Day 2. May I have a motion to adopt the state fiscal year 2021-2022 Unified Planning Work Program?
I'll make the motion, County Executive Balone.
Thank you, County Executive Balone. May I have a second?
Seconded, County Executive George Latimer.
All right, thank you, County Executive Latimer. Is there any discussion on the work plan? All right, hearing none, we will move to a roll call vote, starting with the Lower Hudson Valley again. Putnam County?
Aye.
Rockland County?
Yes.
Westchester County?
Yes.
To Long Island, Nassau County?
Aye.
Suffolk County?
Yes.
New York City Department of Transportation?
Yes.
New York City Department of City Planning?
Yes.
Finally, to the Metropolitan Transportation Authority?
Michael Center, voting on behalf of the MTA, voting yes.
Thank you, Michael. New York State Department of Transportation votes aye. Thank you all very much. The motion passes. The work plan moves forward. All right. That takes us to our next resolution, which is 2021-2, recognition of service by Polly Trottenberg, our former commissioner of the New York City Department of Transportation. She has served as a principal member of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council for many years, and we're very excited about not only her service, but taking on these new responsibilities in Washington. So this resolution really does acknowledge her service in recognition of all the work that she's done, both on NYMTC and on behalf of New Yorkers. She was a most active and vocal principal at NYMTC from 2014 all the way through 2020. I believe she provided invaluable guidance, probably not just to this process, but across the board. And her vision really did help shape New York City and the region. We want to thank Polly very much for all the work that she has done and wish her the best in everything that she is taking on in her new assignment in Washington, D.C. So I hope everybody's had a chance to read the resolution. But again, we're looking to honor and acknowledge the great work of Polly Trottenberg. So may I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
This is Hank Gutman. I would be delighted to move to honor my illustrious predecessor, Polly Trottenberg.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Commissioner Gutman. Is there a second?
This is Marisa Lago, and I also would like to honor not just a colleague, but a dear friend and an extraordinary public servant.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Is there any discussion? All right. I know we could all wax about Polly for a long time. We've all worked with her for a long time and think very highly of her. So I think it's only appropriate that NYMTC take this opportunity to acknowledge her great work. All right. Are there any objections? Hearing none. Going once, going twice, but we're past. Thank you so much, and we'll be thrilled to share this resolution and its passage with Polly directly. Very excited for her. So thank you all. Will now take us to our next resolution, 2021-3, recognition of service of Peter Lopez, the former regional administrator for US EPA, as a principal member of the NYMTC Council here. So the bottom line is we're asking you all to vote and recognize Peter Lopez for his services to NYMTC. As regional administrator, Peter was the principal member of NYMTC from 2017 through 2020. We'd like to thank Peter for his contributions towards the vision of NYMTC and the larger region. We very much wish him the best in all of his future endeavors, and want to make sure that we appropriately thank him for his service. So do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
County Executive Day makes the motion.
Wonderful. Thank you, County Executive Day. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
If you could acknowledge yourself, please.
County Executive Balone, I'll second the motion.
Wonderful. Thank you, County Executive Balone. Are there any objections to this action? All right, hearing none, the motion passes, and we acknowledge Peter Lopez of the EPA for his service to NYMTC. Thank you all very much. All right, with that, we move to Resolution 2021-4, recognition of service by NYMTC's co-chair, Ed Day, the county executive from Rockland County. The resolution really does express NYMTC's appreciation to you, Ed, for your service, for your guidance as the council's co-chair during the 2020 program year. You certainly took on more than you probably ever imagined, and you said so. But literally during your service, during your tenure, you have not only served with distinction, but you've provided truly invaluable counsel to NYMTC and to certainly all of your colleagues here. And I want to thank you very much. We very much look forward to continuing our work with you, not only at the council level, but across the board. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Ed, for your service. And I'm gonna see if I can have a motion to adopt this resolution, please.
Naomi Klein, Westchester County, so moved.
Wonderful, thank you. Westchester County moved. May I have a second?
County Executive Balone, very proud to move or second this motion to my good friend and colleague.
Thank you, County Executive Balone. Is there any discussion? I know we all share our good wishes for you, and again, our thanks. Without any objection, motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service, County Executive Day. All right, we now get to confirm Steve Balone, the County Executive to assume the co-chair position for the council for the 2021 program year. This is the final action that we'll be taking today. Per the memorandum of understanding for the council, the co-chairs rotated annually among the three NYMTC transportation coordinating committees. Last year, the co-chair was selected from the Mid-Hudson South Transportation Coordinating Committee. This year, the co-chair has been selected from the Napa Suffolk Transportation Coordinating Committee. So we are very, very pleased, County Executive Bellone, that you have been voted the co-chair for the new program year. We're welcoming your service, and if you have any words, want to share a few words with us, we would welcome it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just to reiterate what I said before, really looking forward to working with you this year as we continue to grapple with the pandemic and look to emerge from it, and as you said, build back better, stronger than before, and to congratulate and thank my colleague Ed Day for his great work. Look forward to building upon that work, and to all of my colleagues, look forward to working with you this year as we continue to move forward through the pandemic. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for taking on these responsibilities.
Commissioner,
yes.
Yeah, could I get a moment, if you don't mind, to be recognized?
Yes. I can't say who's talking, but...
County Executive Day, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no, just real quickly, I appreciate the kind words. It has been my honor to be a co-chair in this council. I want to thank everybody on staff, and NYMTC staff, who really risen to the occasion. You know, when crisis hits, it's not one person, it's a group of people working together, and that's exactly what we saw here. I also want to offer my best wishes to my friend Steve Bellone. He's going to do an amazing job, I know it, and like I said earlier, I wish I had a gavel to give him, so all I can give him is my good wishes and best of luck. Good luck, Steve. Thank you very much, everybody.
Ed, thank you very much. I'll take that gavel when we get together next time. And last thing I do want to say, true thank you to, as Ed said, to the NYMTC staff for the great job that they do. Really appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, if we were all together, we would be clapping both for County Executive Day and our incoming co-chair, County Executive Bellone. So thank you both very much. All right, County Executive Day, would you like to take us to our next agenda item here?
Certainly. At this time, Jerry Bogas, our NYMTC Assistant Director, will provide an overview of NYMTC's 2050 Regional Transportation Plan. Could you please have Jerry's mic unmuted? Jerry?
Thank you, County Executive. And for Steve Bellone, I just want to let you know we'll use some of the money in the Unified Planning Work Program to purchase a gavel for next year. So, given the lateness of the hour, I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. So, Yinka, if you could just leave this slide up, I'll just speak to it. Setu Allen mentioned the Regional Transportation Plan in his presentation. It's a key federal requirement that really creates the framework for federal investment in our region, both financially and strategically. There is a federal requirement that we need to update or produce a new plan every 4 years. And we've been working since the second half of 2018 with your staffs to produce that plan. Where we are right now is that in mid-June, we'll be releasing the plan publicly, the draft plan, for a public comment period. We did extensive public outreach virtually in 2020, and a nod to Jan Kahn of my staff for the work that he did in making that possible. Once the comment period is completed in June into the middle of July, we'll be preparing the plan for council adoption in early September. So it will be in place at the start of federal fiscal year 2022 on October 1st, which is the requirement. So, I just wanted to point that out to the council members. We will be calling you back again in September. Don't know if it's going to be a virtual meeting. Likely it will be. But you'll take that important step and establish the framework for future investment of federal dollars. If there are any questions, I'll answer them. But other than that, that's the information item. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. All right. With that, I know time is of the essence here. Really quickly, I don't know if we have a final slide. County Executive Day, is there anything else on your end? Otherwise, I'll move.
No, Commissioner, I'm fine. Absolutely fine. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. A couple of quick notes here. The next meeting of the council is scheduled to be held on September the 9th, 2021. At that time, the council will be meeting to adopt, as Gary noted, NYMTC's next regional transportation plan. The details of the meeting will be made available 2 weeks prior to the meeting date. So with that, I think we are in a position to conclude today's meeting. I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I hear a motion?
You'd be right if I did it. County Executive Day.
Thank you very much, County Executive Day. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion, County Executive Balone.
Thank you, County Executive Balone. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Stay safe, be well, and we'll look forward to seeing you in September. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Commissioner, take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.